Yes, it is. But it'll have its own kinds of consequences. The only thing you have to learn is do whatever the hell you want, just do it well. But for every action you perform, there is a consequence. When the consequence comes your way, if you're able to joyfully go through the consequence, you can do anything you wish. But when the consequence comes, you cry. If you're that kind, then you must control your action. You are creating such a level of conflict within yourself for every simple thing that you think you could always be doing something wrong, something wrong, something wrong. Well, joyfully do something wrong, something wrong, something wrong. Well, joyfully do something wrong, something wrong, something wrong. But for every action you perform, there is a consequence. When the consequence comes your way, if you're able to joyfully go through the consequence, you can do anything you wish. But when the consequence comes, you cry. If you're that kind, then you must control your action. You are creating such a level of conflict within yourself for every simple thing that you think you could always be doing something wrong, something wrong, something wrong. Well, joyfully do something wrong, it's okay. Hello? Nobody knows really whether they're doing the right thing or the wrong thing. Do they know for 100%? Simple thing that you think you could always be doing something wrong, something wrong, something wrong. Well, joyfully do something wrong, okay. Hello? Nobody knows really whether they're doing the right thing or the wrong thing. Do they know for 100%? No. So don't bother yourself too much about is this right, is this wrong. It is just that when you do something, is this bringing well-being to me and everybody around me? That's all your concern is. Why don't you awaken the humanity within you? Why don't you become a living humanity? Humanity means just this, already we spoke about this. Animal nature means fixing boundaries. Human nature means expanding or including everybody into your boundaries because this is a natural longing. Wherever you are, you want to be something more, something more. What is this? This is because your intelligence has come to a place where it doesn't like boundaries. It wants to expand. This is human nature. Human nature is naturally inclusive. Animal nature is exclusive. It wants to fix boundaries. So instead of being in boundaries of right and wrong, even if somebody is wrong, let's include them and do the best we can. So do not waste your time in right decisions, wrong decisions. When you are reasonably balanced and clear and happy, not frustrated about something, make a decision, throw your life into it, something wonderful will happen. You may not do the right thing, but you may do a great thing, you may do a wonderful thing, that's good enough. How far will I go? What will happen? Well, that depends on various things, your own intelligence, your competence, and the times in which we exist. You should not discount the times in which we exist. At different times in history, different things take off. We may be in sync with it. What we are may be appreciated today, or what we are may be appreciated tomorrow, or what we are may be appreciated after we are gone. But whatever we did in our life, we did with total involvement. because life is in its involvement. Life is not in its correctness. Your involvement must be…
Psychologists have discovered that procrastination isn't
Oh
caused
my
by
motherfucking
laziness or
god.
lack of motivation, but instead it's your
must be unriddled. Whatever you do, see how everybody's well-being is included in this. If you are an inclusive process and you're involved, it is fine. Are you right or wrong? Right or wrong, till the last day of your life, you cannot really decide what is right and wrong. A human being, at least on this planet, you're the peak of evolution, physiologically at least. Yes? If other behavioral aspects, if we may have questions, but physiologically at least, the most evolved creature on the planet. What the most evolved creature on the planet means is, it has the most complex neurological system and it has the highest level of cerebral capability. That means you can think, you can remember, you have memory. You have a very vivid sense of memory and a fantastic sense of imagination. An ant doesn't have such a vivid sense of memory, nor does he have any great imagination. He has some, but he has a presence of mind about the life that he is living. Because the education systems that you're going through right from kindergarten level is such that it is about everything except you. It's about everything else. Somebody is PhD in tourism, somebody is PhD in biotechnology, somebody is PhD in something. Nothing about this. How does this function? There is no attention at all.
Of
A
course.
human being functions. You know, you have a Kalabhairava temple here. What this means is, a human being exists in 3 times. He lives because of the richness of his memory. How rich is your memory determines what you will do and what you will not do right now, isn't it so? So memory is important. The present experience is important. And how vivid is your imagination for tomorrow is very important. Right now the problem is, these things have all gotten mixed up because discipline of faculty has simply not come. Nothing has been taught to our children that there needs to be… Discipline means people think English kind of discipline, walking like this like idiots. Discipline of faculty is not there. Because of this, your own mind turns against you. What happened 10 years ago, you still suffer? Hello? What may happen day after tomorrow, you already suffer? Because there's no discipline of faculty. You don't know how to use your memory, you don't know how to use your imagination. Your memory makes you suffer, your imagination makes you suffer, and you think you're suffering your life. You are not suffering your life, you are only suffering the 2 greatest faculties of being human, vivid sense of memory and a fantastic sense of imagination, isn't it so? If you suffer the greatest faculties that you have, what can we do with you? If you suffer an ailment, understandable. If you suffer a disability, understandable. If you suffer your ability, hopeless case. Yes or no? You're suffering your capabilities. If you're suffering your disability, it's all right. You're suffering your capabilities. Because what life throws at us is not our choice always. We try to manage it to some extent, but it's not entirely our choice. Life may throw all kinds of things at us, but what we make out of it is 100% ours. If this one dimension, if we take charge of this, no matter what life throws at me, I will make this into a tremendous process for myself. Let it throw whatever. It doesn't matter what life throws at you, you will turn it into a possibility. You will not make anything into your problem because you are not a problem. This is a choice that every human being has, either for every situation. When I say every situation, there are only situations and situations and situations in our lives. When you don't know how to handle a particular situation, you call that a problem. What is the problem for you? Maybe wonderful possibility for somebody else, usually is. Isn't it? There are no problems in life, they're just situations. You can either make it into a possibility or a problem. You can either you yourself become a possibility or a problem. This is a choice every human being has. But to exercise this choice, you have to be in a certain way within yourself. Within yourself, you are in a certain state of equanimity, balance and exuberance that no matter what life throws at you, you will make it into a wonderful possibility. Life can throw all kinds of horrible things. Don't underestimate life, it can do things to you. Yes? Essentially, the important thing is, this is a life. For every one of you, your life is precious, isn't it? Hello? It's a precious life. If something is precious, where do you want to invest this life? Into what do you want to invest this precious life? If this is a worthless life, throw it somewhere. If this is a precious life, what do you want to invest this life into? If you look at it this way, you will find something truly worthwhile to do. If you think in terms of how to earn a living, how to get this kind of thing, that kind of thing, then you will do something silly that you will regret for the rest of your life. Most people are a regret. That's why they're going around joylessly, because they're not doing what they want to do. They are not creating what really matters to them. They're doing something for a living. This precious life, where are you going to invest it? Are you going to invest it in something that's truly worthwhile, or are you going to throw it away as a worthless thing? This is the important thing, because what you call as my life is just a certain amount of time and energy, isn't it? Yes? As you sit here, your life is ticking away or no? You're young, you may not be thinking like this, but actually it's ticking away. What is ticking away is not time, what is ticking away is your life. Yes or no? So this energy that you call as my life, how are you going to invest it? Because it's going to… if you're doing something truly worthwhile, it gets over before you know what happened. Only if you're doing something worthless, it feels like a long life. Have you noticed this? On a particular day when you're very happy, 24 hours, poof, it went off like that, like a moment. You're miserable, 24 hours feels like 10 years. Have you not noticed this? So only miserable people will have a long life. Joyful people, life goes away like that, as if it's a couple of days. It passes away like that, if you are creating what you really care to create. See, if you want to get somewhere in your life, get somewhere does not mean be better than somebody, do this, earn this, that, no. As a life, your experience of life should become a fantastic experience. So right now, all the crazy things that people are doing in their life, why? They drink, sexuality, temple, this, meditation, whatever they're doing. Why they're doing? Because they want their experience of life to become pleasant. Yes or no? Somebody hits the bottle, somebody hits somebody else, and somebody does something else, but essentially looking for pleasantness. If your body becomes pleasant, we call this health. I'm talking yoga now, officially. If your body becomes pleasant, we call this health. If it becomes very pleasant, we call it pleasure. If your mind becomes pleasant, we call this peace. If it becomes very pleasant, we call it joy. If your emotions become pleasant, we call it love. If it becomes very pleasant, we call it compassion. If your very life energies become pleasant, we call this blissfulness. If it becomes very pleasant, we call it ecstasy.
If if your surroundings become pleasant, we call this success. Only for this last one, to make our surroundings pleasant, we need the cooperation of many forces around us. Many things have to fall into place. But to keep your body pleasant, mind pleasant, emotion pleasant, your life energy is pleasant, it's 100.
Were you recently injured in a car accident?
No, I wasn't.
Check for 160.
Oh, I could use 160,000.
100% your business, not good for the business. Isn't it 100% your business to keep this body, this mind, this emotion and this energy pleasant within yourself? I'm asking all of you, tell me, on a day when you're very happy, are you willing to do lot of things? Or a day when you're depressed, you're willing to do lot of things? When you're happy, you're willing to bend backwards and do everything possible. When you're little unhappy, how difficult it is to move you, isn't it? So why do you say if you're blissed out, you will do nothing? It is just that you will no more be a vested interest. You are not in pursuit of happiness. Your life is an expression of your bliss. Now what will you do? You will do what's needed. Every human being should be doing what is needed, isn't it? Right now, they are trying to milk happiness from the world, destroying the world in the process, completely destroying the world. See, today, what is it that this ecological disasters unfolding, what do you think it is? In pursuit of human happiness, isn't it? Nothing else. In pursuit of human happiness, we have turned this planet into a bonfire and people are not even happy. Forget about being happy, most people are in a state of struggle.
Motherfucker.
So, it's very, very important. What is in your hands? First, all those things must be taken charge of. What we do in the world, let us see to what extent the world allows us to do it. Your body, your mind, your emotions and your energies must take instructions from you, isn't it so? Hello? Right now, it is taking stimuli and instructions from all sorts of people. So how the hell do you think you will go where you want in your life when somebody else and somebody else can make this body, this person do whatever they want? At least what happens within you must be determined by you. What happens around you, it'll never be 100% determined by you. If you work hard, little more influence, otherwise little less influence, but never 100%. Outside situations will always be like that and they should be like that, because if the whole world happens the way you want, then where do I go? Little bit your way, little bit my way, little bit somebody else's way, it's fine. But what happens here must be my way. If this one thing happens your way, will you keep yourself blissful, miserable, depressed, what? So essentially, you must understand, you can call it stress, anxiety, misery, depression, whatever you call it. Essentially, your intelligence has turned against you. That's all that's happened to you. Because there is no any kind of knowledge in your education system from ABC to till this day, how to take charge of the faculties that you have within yourself. When he is fully shattered, what can you do? The question is, do you want to allow yourself to be fully shattered? That's a question. And many things that don't work out in your early life, you will see later on, it is a great blessing. Even if you're put through the most horrible situations, either you can come out using that experience as a better human being, or you can use the experience to become a horrible mess. So whenever something hurts you, there are two options. You can either become wounded or you can become wise. This is the choice. The more things hurt you early on in your life, the wiser you should have become, isn't it? But unfortunately, most people become wounded. This is simply because they just need an excuse to turn their own intelligence against themselves, that's all. Especially if the world around you turns against you, is it not very, very important that your intelligence stands up? We are misunderstanding consciousness as just mental alertness. Mental alertness will help you to survive better. Consciousness is not about that. See, you know that you exist right now only because you're conscious, isn't it? You are conscious right now. That's why you know that you're here. Suppose you fell asleep, you don't know that you exist.
Oh my God.
If you're a Christian, take a look at this book.
Oh my
It was
Lord.
recently discovered in the sand dunes of the Israeli desert.
No way.
Scientists have confirmed it's over 2,000 years old.
2,000.
But what makes this book so unusual are the strange symbols within its pages.
Hmm.
They don't resemble any known language. It
Exactly.
is now believed these symbols are hiding a forgotten recipe for an
Exactly.
ancient cocktail used in biblical times to
Uh-huh.
help people burn away age-related disease.
Well, not only
naturally,
that,
safely, and
but it
easily.
made you
Some
immortal.
experts even believe this
Isn't it? You don't know the world exists, nor do you know that you exist, simply because you're somewhat unconscious. Does it mean to say you're completely unconscious? No, you're still conscious when you're sleeping, but not conscious enough to notice the presence of many things. So consciousness is not whether it is present or absent, it is always there. The question is only the intensity and the volume of it. If we have to use an analogy right now, see, the lights are focused on us, so both of us are clearly seen. There are people hiding in darkness. Suppose you dim the light further, all these people will disappear, only two of us will be there. If you increase the voltage, suddenly they will all appear. They were always here. They were here all the time. Because the lights were dimmed, I could only see you and nobody else. If the lights were up, then you could see. This is all consciousness is. Everybody is conscious. Question is how conscious. So to increase or to raise consciousness, what have we done in the societies? Our entire education system is just about survival, one being better than the other. How can you be conscious when you're competitive? When all you want to do is be better than somebody, your only joy is other people's failures. How will you be conscious? When you're enjoying other people's sufferings, other people's failures, this is what being number one means. I'm the number one means what? You're number 10, that's my joy. So I think this is sickness. From kindergarten, you're spreading this sickness into children and you expect them to be fantastic, it won't work like that. You're paying too much attention to everything around you, not enough attention to this one. But the quality of your life is essentially determined by how you carry this one. Yes or no? This moment, what kind of clothes you're wearing, what kind of car you parked outside, what kind of home you live in does not determine the quality of your life. This moment, how joyful are you feeling within yourself determines the quality of your life, isn't it so? Nothing has been done about it. You think it'll happen in consequence and you're setting impossible goals for your happiness. If I have to be happy, my wife should be like this, my husband should be like that, my children should be like this, the world should become some other way. Well, these are impossible conditions you're setting for your happiness and peacefulness. Now that you have compromised yourself to peace, why I'm saying compromise yourself to peace is because a lot of people have given up aspirations for being ecstatic or blissful. If I'm just peaceful, it's enough. Even the so-called spiritual leaders are going about and saying peace is the highest goal in your life. Peace is not the highest goal in your life. If you want to enjoy your lunch today, you must be peaceful. Yes or no? If you're not even peaceful, there is nothing in your life that you can do in a worthwhile way. To be peaceful essentially means this, that you're not messing your mind. To be peaceful means that your system is at ease. You know how to conduct your mind, you know how to conduct your emotions, your body and your energies. You are peaceful. It is not a rocket technology. It is the most basic thing. You have a dog at home, you give him his food, he sits peacefully. Maybe not ecstatic,
but peacefully. Many times they're ecstatic also. Yes? If your dog is able to sit peacefully, oh, he doesn't have to run my industry. That's not the point, he's got his own stuff going. See, it has nothing to do with the external activity that you're doing. It's got something to do with the internal systems as to how they're functioning. Essentially, it means neither your body, nor your mind, nor your chemistry, nor your emotions, nor your energy are taking instructions from you. They're doing their own thing. Once your machine is not in your control, being peaceful is impossible. I'll tell you, you get into your car and now you go there and you want to turn this way. You do this to the steering, it goes this way. Can you peacefully drive this car? Can you? No. Anxiety is natural, isn't it? This is what has happened to your vehicle. It's out of control. You've never done anything to find out where the steering wheel is, first of all. This is not that simple as a car, this is a super computer. Now the problem is most people have not even bothered to find the keyboard.
Thank
They
you,
think if
squirrel.
they do this, somehow it'll work. When you're given such a highly sophisticated machine, if you do not conduct it properly, it will cause many problems to you. If you come to the idea of mortality once in a way, it'll make you depressed, it will make you fearful. If you live with it every moment, it will make you absolutely exuberant and alive, because it is just this one thing, that this is not forever, this is just for a brief period of time. And the more joyful you are, briefer it becomes. If you're ecstatic, it'll just vanish in no time. Yes? So if you want to stretch it, you need to make yourself truly miserable. Otherwise, it'll be just gone in no time. If you come to terms with this, if you live this way, that every moment you appreciate one thing and only one thing, because the most important thing in your life is you're alive right now. To be alive, fully alive, 100% alive is the most important thing, because only if something is 100% alive, can you make it yield something beautiful. Say you have a little plant in your house, or let's say a mango tree in your house, which is like this, which is just imitating you. Can you make it come out with lot of sweetness? No, it's alive in a big way. Now you can expect sweetness from that. Nobody has to teach the mango tree which is alive, please give sweetness. Anyway it will pour out, isn't it? Miserable people have to be taught, please be loving, please be nice to people, gentle to people, do this, do that. All these things necessary because in some way you become half alive. If you're exuberantly alive, it is natural for human consciousness to bleed sweetness every moment of your life. We don't know what great things you will do or not. We don't know whether you will climb Mount Everest or not. We don't know whether you will run faster than Mr. Bolt or not. We don't know whether you will become the richest man or woman in this world or not. But this one thing you must do to yourself, this one thing you deserve, this one thing is 100% in your hands, that you can live here as a joyful human being. This much is possible for every one of us. Our ability to fix the world around us, subject to various realities. Some things work, some things don't work. Because this involves too many forces, sometimes it falls into place, sometimes it doesn't. But in our lives, will we do everything that we can do or not is determined by this, that only if you're joyful by your own nature, that is, you have no fear of suffering. Only when you have no fear of suffering, Will you dare to walk your life full stride? Everything that you can do, you will do. In our lives, if we do not do what we cannot do, this is not an issue. But if we do not do what we can do, we are a disastrous life. I know money is important, but money doesn't come because you desire money. It comes because you do something well. Instead of going on thinking about how much money you want to earn, if you look at what you want to create, and if what you create is truly worthwhile, money will happen. This idea, see for example, right now the modern examples, there are Narayan Murthys, there are Zuckerbergers, there are all these people. These people didn't bother about money. These people bothered about creating something. Because what they created was valuable to everybody, money naturally comes in. And above all, if you are creating what you value, if you are creating what you see as an immense value to everybody's life, you have the joy of creating it. How much money depends upon times. It doesn't matter. What is your level of intelligence? What is your level of capability? Introvert, extrovert, this, that, doesn't matter. Do you have the courage and commitment to make the possibility into your reality? That's all the questions. So, if you focus, whatever you're doing right now, it doesn't matter what it is. How simple an act you're doing right now, it doesn't matter. If you're absolutely devoted to that you're doing right now, depending upon various aspects, things will unfold. But
Were you recently injured in a car accident?
No, I wasn't.
Check for $160,000.
Oh, I could use $160,000, but I don't need it.
influences, we become too goal-oriented. Goal-oriented means we are interested in the consequence, but we are not interested in the process. If you are not interested in the process, you should not be an artist. Yes? Process is an end in itself. If you are absolutely devoted to the process, depending upon various aspects, something will come out. But now we are interested in the consequence, not in the process. This goal-orientedness, I want to get there, I want to get there. Where the hell do you want to get? No, I want to win the race. See, if you treat life as a race, if you have to win it, you have to get to the finish line soon, isn't it? You want to? Hello? If you get to the finish line ahead of all these people, you won the race. You know what the finish line is? We'll be negotiating where to bury you. So, particularly being in creative arts, don't ever think of a goal. What should I become? How should I be? What should I create? Don't worry about this thing. If you're devoted to the process, something will come out. Something more beautiful than you imagine will happen because you're devoted to the process. Without devotion, I'm specifically using the word devotion because people think devotion means going to the temple, church or mosque. No. Without devotion, either in sport, art, music, spirituality, politics, business, anything, any arena of life, has anybody done anything truly significant without being absolutely devoted to what they're doing? Have they? No. Mediocre things you can do. So do not think of art and aesthetics as a way to earn a living. Living will happen because if a human being stays focused on something, inevitably it'll yield. How can it not yield? The universe will yield to you if you are focused. All I'm telling all of you young people, do whatever the hell you want in your life, but you must be intensely focused on something. If you're not investing in anything, your life, it will just go waste. Because as I told you in the very beginning, one basic ingredient of your life is time, and this is just going away. If this one thing is done within the human being, then every situation is a possibility.
Once every situation becomes a possibility, this human being will blossom to a full-fledged life. And this is the aspiration of every life, to somehow become a full-fledged life.
The best morning routine for manifesting more money is an alpha meditative practice. You may be
The fight is not yours. You have to fight. When you hit the enemy, it should be death, not injury. You must be effective. Without inspiring the men, you can't do the type of activity that is expected of a soldier. Trying to be humble may make you very pretentious. It is better you have pride. Accepting failure is a dangerous process. It's better you learn not to fail. You're in the forces. Failure may mean death. You can't learn after that. Namaskaram. Namaskaram to all of you. It's a great privilege and honor to be talking to the bravest men of Bharat.
Namaskar Sadhguru. On behalf of Air Vice Marshal Pawan Mohe, Vishesh Seva Medal, Commandant, College of Defence Management, I extend a very warm welcome to you for this interaction with officers and ladies of the College of Defence Management. It is indeed my honor to conduct this evening session on the topic of engineering for combating adversities. Adverse circumstances and situations are an integral part of a life for a soldier and their families. As soldiers battle the enemy on our borders, our families hold the home front and encounter numerous challenges and with utmost courage and perseverance. However, we've been born into an unpredictable and an imperfect world as finite human beings who have shortcomings, who make mistakes, face decision dilemmas, and carry our own set of worries. There is much to contend with, and our ability to handle adversities is limited. While our unabated inquest to seek answer continues, we are indeed proud and privileged to have amongst us Honorable and respected Sadhguru, a yogi, a visionary humanitarian, and the most widely followed global spiritual leader. In 2017, Sadhguru was conferred the Padma Vibhushan, one of India's highest civilian award accorded for exceptional and distinguished service. Sadhguru bridges the gap between known and the unknown. Without any further delay, karma is accumulated impression of past activity, either of thought, emotion, or physical action. During operations, as a professional soldier, I am expected to obey the orders of my superior authority, as also resort to actions which may result in injury or death of another human being. Which karma account will have to enter this transaction? Mine, my superior military authority, further senior commanders, and the upward list could go on. Could you please throw some light on it?
Namaskaram. My utmost respects to all of you, brave men, and above all your families who bear the brunt of your bravery in many ways of daily living in suspense and anxiety about your well-being. So I bow down to all of you for this. See, when it comes to a fighting force, well, you did not start the fight. When you hit the enemy, you are not hitting for personal pleasure. You are fulfilling a larger purpose. This is important, that we do not mix up philosophies of life which are manufactured in our heads with the realities of our existence. We are still not in that kind of a world, or we have failed to create that kind of a world. The failure is mine and people like me. Because we have failed to create a world where the world will embrace each other, everybody will embrace each other and live in love and joy, such a thing we have failed to create. Men like you have to fight. It is still the reality. Anybody who is denying the reality for themselves will pay a huge price. I think we as a culture, as a land, we have paid this price already centuries before that, because we thought we can deal with life with philosophies. A few hundred men who came from elsewhere managed to conquer us, rule us, do all kinds of things to us. Even a business company which comes ends up ruling us for over 250 years. So, it's time to understand in free India, a soldier should know the fight is not yours. You're fighting our fight. You're fighting because of my failure to be able to create a loving and joyful world. So you have to fight, and when you fight and when you hit, you said it may cause injury or death. I know this will be shocking for people that I say this. No, when you hit the enemy, it should be death, not injury. That's not a good thing, because you're not a police force, you're a fighting force on the border. You will fight only with those forces which will threaten the nation. So, but you know, someone who is supposed to be godlike, a divine entity, is encouraging another person who happens to be a warrior, whose head is fluffed up with philosophies. So all that the divine entity is trying to do in the form of Arjuna and Krishna is that he's trying to bring some practical sense. You're a warrior, you're on the battlefield, and now your head is fluffed with philosophy. It's not gonna work. To put it very bluntly, this is all the teaching is. Because your actions have to be relevant for the situations in which you exist. If you go into the battlefield and you don't hit the enemy the way you should, and you come back with your karmic stuff, your karma in a nice flowery way, this is very bad karma, because nation's resources are being wasted and the possibility of what it could bring to the country is another thing. So it's very, very important that we need to understand there is an existential situation, there is a psychological and emotional situation, and there is a social situation. These are all not the same things. So, a fighting force handles a certain existential reality that still human beings have not come to this point where they can hold hands and live joyfully with each other. We've still not come there. Hope we get there. It's an ideal, but it is not something that we will see immediately. It is going to, I don't know how long we will take, but we should not give up the ideal. But till then, we have to manage the practical. We should.
The next question, Sadhguru. As we grow up in armed forces, sometimes the circumstances around us compel us to take autocratic decisions. Over a period of time, these become rigid habits which some of us unknowingly display in form of arrogant behavior. While professional competence and ambition is necessary to climb up the ladder, one important quality of humility continues to be ignored as too many leaders think that they can't be humble and ambitious at the same time. Could you please highlight the importance of humility for any leader, and how do we develop this essential skill?
So, that means somebody is trying to be a commandant even at home with the family. I think by now you should have discovered it doesn't work. Well, this habit of giving orders should not become a habit. It is important. Once again, I stress, in a fighting force, which is not a normal kind of social situation where we can sit down and debate about everything. No, once a leader says something, others, whether it makes much sense to them or not, sometimes they just have to do it, because there are moments in our life, there are situations when we are in intense activity where there is no room for debate. Debate should happen elsewhere. There cannot be a debate on the battlefield. Again, I'll go back to Kurukshetra. This is a debate on the battlefield.
The pelicans are
If you
coming
take up the
in.
Bhagavad Gita and read, I don't know how long it'll take to read that 18 chapters because I have not. But I believe it'll take at least 4 or 5 hours. So if you stand with your enemy army standing there and for 4 or 5 hours if you're debating, you know what is your fate. So that's exactly what Krishna is just trying to tell Arjuna, this is not a time to debate. So officers have to even if that is not their natural way, they have to be a certain level of command and force, otherwise those situations won't work. But if you try the same method everywhere, it won't work either. About humility, see what a leader needs is, he needs integrity first of all. Integrity means, in your thought and emotion, everything that you do is not about yourself, it is about the larger well-being. If this becomes your way, if this is your sense of integrity, integrity is not just a bunch of morals or values or ethics. Integrity means that your intentions have become larger than personal. Your intentions are not about your well-being, it's always about larger well-being. As long as this is fixed and you have this integrity, you don't have to try to act like a humble pie, it's really not necessary. Integrity must be there, and above all, people will respect a leader because he has some insight. Because when you say a leader, in some way, either a society or an organization or a force like yours places you on a perch. If you sit on a perch, you must see something more than what others are seeing. If you sit on a perch and still don't see any better than those who are down there, then you will become an object of ridicule. So it's very important that an officer or a leader must develop insight. If there is no insight, if you don't see things clearly, then all that'll happen is ridicule, not really leadership. And another important aspect is, as a leader, it is not by words that you can inspire people. Inspiration is very, very needed, especially in a force like yours. Without inspiring the men, you can't do the type of activity that is expected of a soldier. If this inspiration has to happen, it's not just about inspiring words. Nobody's going to listen to those words. The important thing is you live in such a way that you burn with such intensity that people cannot help catching fire and be intense along with you. So inspiration, insight and integrity, if these three things if you have, you don't have to be humble. What is humility? Let's understand this. Humility comes to you not because you pretend a certain kind of behavior. Trying to be humble may make you very pretentious. It is better you have pride in what you're doing. When you have pride in what you're doing, when you're very proud of what you do and how you do, then it takes care of you stepping on other people. And above all, if we understand our position on this planet, in this cosmos, this solar system is a tiny speck. In this tiny speck of a solar system, planet Earth is a microspeck. In that microspeck, India is another speck. In that super micro speck, your battalion is a super micro speck. In that, you are a big man, this is a lot of trouble. If you just understand, we are a speck of life. Nature has given us, creation has given us so many privileges of experiencing our life individually. But if you look at the life of the planet and who we are a small pop-up and we will pop out one way or the other. If we understand the context of the time that we occupy here as human beings, the space that we occupy here as human beings and who we are, well, we are just a tiny speck. If you are just conscious about this, there is no need for humility, you will be fine. You know, I must tell you this, as a rule, when my daughter was growing up, I made sure that nobody teaches her anything.
I said, nobody should teach her anything, she will grow up by herself. Nobody should teach her anything. People said, what about 1, 2, 3, what about ABC, what about Mary Had a Little Lamb? Yeah, I said, I no need for ABC, no need for 1, 2, 3, and I don't care whether Mary had a lamb or not. You just leave her alone, let her grow up. So she grew up like this, she did not understand that she's a child. She always treated everybody as equal, she called me by my first name, she called all adults like that, but she was just fine. Then I had to put her in school after some time because my travels went crazy. Then when she was about 12, 13 years of age, something happened in the school and it disturbed her. She came home and said, "You're teaching everybody so many things, you're not teaching me anything." I said, "See, I am not given to teach anybody unsolicited. And you did not enroll, you just landed up here. So now that you're asking, okay, sit down." I said, "See, this is all you need to know about life. Never look up to anybody." She looked at me like this, "What about you?" kind of thing. I said, "Especially me. Never look up to me. Because if you look up to me, the maximum that you will do is you'll take my picture and nail it on the wall. That's not going to do any good to you. If you see me just the way I am, it'll be of immense value. But if you look up to me, you will miss it. So never look up to anybody, never look down on anybody. You just see life just the way it is. Then you will navigate your way through life effortlessly. And this all it takes. We don't need humility, nor do we need arrogance. Both are not needed. Why can't we just handle life as it is necessary?"
In your book, Death an Inside Story, you mentioned that there is no use abusing a body through medical interventions when doctors have left no hope. But what I have been taught as a leader is to constantly struggle even when defeat is inevitable without bothering about results. So as a military man, are the principles of Karma Yoga not conflicting with what you have said while dealing with our dear ones?
Sir, as a military officer, you're dealing with young lives. 90-year-old men are not in your force, so that's a different affair. Young men, however badly they may be mauled in a battle, still many times they're capable, depending upon their grit and their constitution, they may bounce back. Of course, you have the famous story of Field Marshal Manek Shah, of how he recovered from the machine gun fire and they'd given up on him and how he came back. So there are any number of stories like that because you are dealing with very fit, strong, determined young men. That is a different story. We are talking about trying to understand and come to terms that we are mortal. This life is mortal in nature. You cannot just think that you're going to live forever. A time comes where you must be ready to ease your way through. You must understand you come at a certain time and you go at a certain time. We don't want an untimely death, that is for everybody. Nobody should have an untimely death. But when the time is up, we must be willing to go. If we are not willing to go, we will definitely make it miserable for ourselves. Or if our children or their children are not willing to let us go, that will also make it miserable. So it's extremely important that we should handle both life and death with a certain wisdom, understanding the context. We are not here for good, that is fixed. Our time here is very limited and how we use this time is important. It is not about… life's quality is not going to be enhanced by simply stretching it by another few months or a year or two. It's not going to happen with enormous pain and a nuisance for yourself and for everybody. It is not going to work like that. If you are observant of the life forces within you, you will see when life is not wanting to revive itself. You don't have to ask a doctor. If you just observe your own life forces, you will know when they're winding up. When they're winding up, you pump yourself with this, that and simply stretch it for a few weeks or months or whatever is meaningless. This is coming from a fundamental sense of ignorance, which unfortunately has spread around the world. But in this country, always when people came to a certain sense that, life is winding up, They would simply sit in one place and go on water diet and slowly go quietly, peacefully. Not stuck up with so many tubes and needles, that's not the way to go. It's very important that we live well and we also die well. And not only die well, because death is the last act that we perform in our life. It's important we die in style. It's very, very important for I know this may sound morbid to people. There's nothing morbid about our mortality. That is a fundamental reality of our existence. Only if we are conscious of this reality will we plan and enact our life in as beautiful a manner as possible.
Sometimes life puts you in a situation where you can't help being a certain way. Leave aside being right or wrong. The way I think and perceive is my way of doing things, but it may not be right for others. Who decides then what is the right way? And if there is one, what is the right way?
See, people who think in terms of right and wrong are too absolutist about life. Life is not about absolutism. It is all one inside the other, in the sense creation and creator are wrapped into the same thing. Here we sit here, this very body has been created from within. So this piece of creation and the source of creation are mixed up. Or let me come to a more mundane example. Right now, if you look at it logically, see, this right and wrong is because we have a linear way of thinking, looking at everything in terms of cutting it to pieces and say, okay, this and this.
This
You
and
could
this.
be in the best place and be absolutely miserable. You can live in a palace and be horrendously miserable. You can live on the street and be exuberantly joyful. Both are possible. So your experience of life is where your destiny is, because it's your experience of life that determines the quality of your life, not where you are, where you're going, what you're doing. No, these things are only socially relevant. They are not existentially relevant. Existentially for you as you sit here, what is your experience of life? How profound is it? How pleasant is it? How wonderful is it? This is all that determines. This destiny 100% you can take charge of this, because human experience is caused from within. Pain and pleasure, joy and misery, agony and ecstasy happens from within us. So when it is happening from within us, at least what is happening from within us must happen my way. What is happening from within me must happen my way. What is around me is not all mine. Everybody has their piece in it. Maybe I also have a piece, I can push for a bigger piece, but that's it. There is never going to be any time for any human being where the external situations will be 100% the way you want it. It never ever will happen.
Here we go now, don't you
Hi,
know?
everyone, and welcome to a Mind Valley podcast. Profound individuals I've ever had on the Mind Valley podcast, and he is blowing up across the world. Sadhguru is an unusual man, with a mystic. He is a experienced.
I wouldn't drive a trailer. I am in a small camper loaded on a truck.
You're a camper loaded in a truck. Well, you're also a man who loves facts, and thank you for correcting me. Now I'm going to read out so Sadhguru is here with me, and I'm going to read out your bio for people who may not have heard of you. I want you to know that this is the man who has been named one of India's 50 most influential people by India Today. That is a huge honor, given that there are approximately 1.4 billion Indian people in the world today, me included. He has been featured on CNN, CNBC, Fox, PBS, BBC, the New York Times. He holds a Guinness World Record, and I love this one. There's so many useless Guinness records out there, but he holds a Guinness record for Project Green Hands, where he was involved in planting over 800,000 trees in 3 days with 200,000 volunteers. He's been invited to speak at the United Nations, the World Economic Forum, TED, Google, Harvard, Oxford, Stanford, and other esteemed organizations. Now, Sadhguru is out with a new book called Karma, and the book is blowing up on Amazon. Right now, as I'm reading this, the book is an editor's pick. I'm reading the book right now, and I gotta tell you, it is one of those books that is so beautiful because it gets you thinking about the world in a new way. It's surprising. It's stunning. Some of the chapters will raise more questions, but that to me is the mark of a good book. And so let's welcome Sadhguru onto the Mind Valley podcast. Sadhguru, welcome.
Namaskaram. Wherever you are, all of you, namaskaram.
Sadhguru, there are 3,000 people live with us today, and I'd like to kick off with the first question. And why did you write this book?
As you know, right now, the world is in the throes of this pandemic. Particularly India, right now is going through a lot. We have lost many people who are dear to us. And well, the nation is making all the efforts possible, but these are not easy times. Having said that, karma means action. Whose action? My action. Whose responsibility? My responsibility. Karma is the most dynamic way to exist in the sense. Karma essentially means, when you say, my life is my karma, it means my life is my making. Well, for a long time, people, to be just able to handle difficult situations, to be able to handle situations which don't fall into our patterns of logic and reason, we have been telling people that everything is managed from up above. Well, the coming generation of people once again have come to a place, the ancient generations knew this very well, but once again, after many centuries, the coming generation of people, I don't think anybody of the next generation want their life to be managed from heaven. They want to be in charge of their lives. If they want to be in charge of their lives, it's most important to understand that there is something called as karma. Karma means it is the residual impact of all the actions that you perform. When I say action, as you sit here, your body is doing certain functions, which is an action. Your mind is doing certain type of actions, your emotions are doing certain other types of actions. And your energetic body is doing another kind of action. So there are 4 dimensions of activity going on within you in wakefulness and sleep. But if you take just wakefulness, let's say from the moment you got up to this moment, how much has happened in body, mind, emotion and energy, and how much of it is conscious, if you look at it, for almost every human being, it's way below 1%. If we want to understand the consequence of this, let's say you get onto your bicycle and you want to ride for 10 minutes. In these 10 minutes, 9 minutes you close your eyes and ride. Well, we know where to pick you up, all right? So this is what it means. Right now, people feel that life is hitting them from various, they don't know from where. They think somebody from up there is slapping them in the face. No, this is the residual impact of your own karma. Karma does not mean that you did good or bad. It's not about good and bad karma. It is just that everything that happened to you in terms of thought, emotion, action and energetic reverberations, the residual impact is there as memory. When I say memory, your existence itself is memory. Say you are wishing, how? Because there is a certain memory bank. If we take away this memory, there is no person like you. If you further go and take away your genetic memory, there is no this human being at all. If you further go and take away the evolutionary memory, there is no possibility of human species. So you are a human being, you are this person, all this is based on evolutionary memory, karmic memory, genetic memory and variety of other levels of memory. We classify memory as 8 different dimensions of memory. All these memories put together, you sit here and you may not remember all of them, but they have a role to play. For example, let's say 25 generations ago, how your great-great-great-grandfather looked, you do not know. But his nose could be sitting on your face right now. Even your skin tone remembers how your forefathers were 1,000,000 years ago. So, it is this bank of memory which makes you who you are, and all of that, or not even a minuscule of that, is actually in your conscious memory. The residual impact of this
is playing up as tendencies within you. If you do not overcome these tendencies, or if you do not rise or transcend about these tendencies of karma, then all that will be happening is past will be repeating itself. The dead are living through you. If you want a life of your own, if you want to be a fresh life here, it's important that you enjoy the richness of your karma. At the same time, you are able to stay above that. You are able to use this to enhance, the quality of your life, but you don't allow it to seep into today. Because if it seeps into today, you have no life. Your parents, your grandparents, your forefathers will start living through you. This is very important that you understand and accept karma for what it is. At the same time, you create a little space from it, so that this whole book is a step-by-step process as to how to get there.
Now, what is interesting about the book, Sadhguru, is that you go into some really interesting ideas. So this was one of the things that I found fascinating. You mentioned a landmark experiment at Emory University in Atlanta, done in 2013. And what they did was they took a cage of mice, and they would blow the fragrance of cherry blossom into the cage. And as that fragrance went into the cage, they would jolt the mice with a mild electric shock. Now, what they found is that after a few attempts, every time the mice smelled the fragrance of cherry blossom, they would freak out because they were expecting the electric shock. But what they found is that the mice's children and the children of the children, 3 generations down, if they smelled cherry blossom, they would still go into a frenzy because they would be expecting a threat. What is going on there? Is this evidence that there is something, for lack of a better word, karma, that's being passed down generation to generation?
See, there is substantial evidence today. That was some time ago, this Emory University experiment. Now there is substantial evidence to show that there is something called as community learning. This is in the yogic culture, we call this Kula Vedana. An entire clan goes through sufferings. An entire clan goes through certain benefits and certain capabilities within themselves, simply because of genetic connections and, being in the same ecosystem, they learn without being taught anything. Well, this is not just for human beings and mice. Even among the plant life, this happens in a significant way. For example, if a certain species of trees are in one group, and let's say an elephant comes in and starts eating, when an elephant eats, it doesn't just eat the leaf, it rips off the branches and everything, so it's painful for the tree. The moment this happens, all the other trees within a short distance, they will all get alerted and they will make their leaves bitter or mildly poisonous.
Right.
So you will see always when the elephants eat in one place, when they're done with it, when the leaf turns bitter, and they will leave the next bunch of trees and go to a faraway place and then eat, simply because the communication goes on. So I'm saying this learning process as a collective is something that we have completely missed, simply because of the kind of schoolrooms we have created and the culture of individuality that we have created. Otherwise, the Kula Vedana and Kula Samskaras are very much a part of it. Many tribes excelled in certain skills. Even now, there have been experiments as to how 2 boys, I don't want to go into the full length of it, 2 boys, one born in Sao Paulo and one born in Detroit, both of them are given how to handle football, that's a soccer ball. And they find the boy born in Sao Paulo is able to handle the ball way better than the Detroit boy who gets the same level of training, and both of them are physically fit. And young boys, like 8 to 12 years, those 4 years some kind of experiment was made. At the age of 12, from 8 to 12, when both of them got exactly the same kind of training, the Sao Paulo boy is able to handle the ball way better than the Detroit boy, simply because a culture of football out there.
That's so interesting. So there are certain advantages that are being formed within groups, right? But how does that prevent us from stereotyping or labeling people? Saying, for example, Indians are not good at sports, Brazilians are amazing at football. Americans are great at sarcasm.
See, the thing is, there are differences in the way we are. If we want to make it into discrimination, that is a serious problem that individual people have within themselves. So right now, somebody has a little advantage. That doesn't mean they will be the best. Generally, people who have a little advantage tend to become complacent and they lose out. So it is not necessary that an Indian cannot do well in sport. Indians are not doing well in sport because there's not enough infrastructure all over the place. There is no culture of lots of people getting into it. Only a small segment of privileged classes getting into it. Well, you see in cricket, a variety of people from all kinds of backgrounds have gotten into it. Just see the quality of cricket, how India is like
Right, exactly.
on the top of the world, okay?
Yeah. So one of the things which I really like about your book is you multiple times across the book, you say this, the idea of individuality is separateness, and that is the basis for all suffering. You speak about the idea that one of the ways to shed bad karma is to approach everything as if it is part of you, everything with reverence and love. Could you talk about that idea?
See, individuality means if you want to check whether you're really an individual, all you have to do is keep your mouth closed and hold your nose for 2 minutes. Let me see how much of an individual existence you are. Without these openings and constant transaction with the rest of the world, you cannot exist. This is not only in terms of respiration. There is food, there is water, not just that. On the cellular level and the atomic level, there is a whole lot of transaction for you to exist. So your idea of you being an individual is just your psychological, reality. It has no existential reality. If existentially it is true, just shut yourself off and let me see how you will exist. You cannot exist. So having said that, see, for a small, tiny little speck of a creature like us, like human beings in this cosmos, you're not even a speck of dust. For this speck, the magnanimity of the creation is such that it's given as an individual experience. We can sit here and wonder about the creation itself. This is not a small privilege. But this privilege, when a privilege is given to you, enjoy it, make use of it, do not take it too seriously. Because at least when you get buried, you understand you're part of the earth, you're not an individual, all right?
Right.
The only problem is most people only get it from the maggots. If they get it now, their entire life will change. If they understand my individuality is only a drama that I'm playing, you can enjoy your individuality and also experience your universality.
Right.
But right now you take your individuality too seriously and you will get your universality at least being a part of the globe only when you're buried. Unfortunate, you must know it when you're alive.
I love that idea. Like across so many different spiritual lines, spiritual teachers say that the larger you can extend your reverence, your love, your compassion for other life, the more you evolve spiritually. So I love that is such a recurring theme in your book, and I think it's a message we all need to hear. Now, one of the things though, Sadhguru, is that I grew up in a Hindu family, and karma was always explained to me in a very weird way that confused me, so much so that at the age of 19, I told my dad, I'm no longer a Hindu. I'm like, look, even Gandhi said, I'm a Hindu, but I'm also a Muslim, a Jew, a Christian.
That's a political statement, don't take that to that.
For sure, right? But this is how karma was explained to me. I remember my aunt was trying to get me, was trying to convince me to become vegetarian. And so I remember so I grew up in Malaysia. In Malaysia, we eat a rice dish with anchovies. It's called nasi lemak. If you're Malaysian, you know what it is. It's rice and the anchovies on the side. And my aunt said, well, if you eat meat, if you eat a cow, in your next life, you will be a cow and someone will eat you. So I pointed to the dish I was eating and I'm like, okay, there are 10 anchovies here on this plate. Are you saying that in my next life, I will become each and every one of these tiny fishes? And my aunt couldn't answer that. And I, as a 6-year-old, thought I was really smart. Now, I'm curious to know,
Your aunt was just trying to control you.
Yes, but how would you explain karma to someone who grew up in an Eastern culture where karma takes on a completely different meaning and is used for control and for right and wrong?
No, I would say using karma as an instrument of creating fear or guilt is a Western instrument, not an Eastern one. Your aunt, by the time your aunt came into the world, there was too much Western influence in the country. Above all, in many ways, being ruled by the British for 25 decades, we somewhere assumed they're superior to us. We're still trying to shed it, many of us have still not been out of it. So because of that, we took to those things where the entire society is only based on guilt and fear. The whole religious structures of the world, unfortunately, based on fear and guilt. Without fear and guilt, there is no nothing. Without reward and punishment, there is no nothing. This fundamentally drips down from the fundamental idea of heaven and hell. If you are good, God will send you to heaven. If you are bad, He will send you to hell and burn you there forever, whatever,
Right.
not just for a few days, forever, okay? If you're burning forever, maybe it'll be okay. I'm saying only if you're outside and go into fire, it's very painful. If you're burning all the time, I don't think it'll be a problem, you'll get used to the temperature. Like right now, we have a certain body temperature, we gotten used to it, all right? Maybe your body temperature will be 300 degrees centigrade, but it
So-
should be okay.
So
This-
I want…
I'll clear this one second. We must understand, however individual people might have tried to use it, karma is not about control. Karma is about liberation. Only when you talk about mukti, we talk about karma. We don't talk about karma about heaven and hell. Karma means my action, my responsibility, my life is my making. So if you understand this, you will not be controlled from outside, you will be liberated from inside in the sense. See, it's like this. Whether, let us say, people are eating, drinking, smoking, whatever they're doing, you can do those things or not do those things because you're controlling yourself, because it's a bad thing to do. Or you can make yourself in such a way that you're feeling so fantastic, you don't need to do those things. So one way is you're controlling it, another way is you're liberated. If you're controlling it, you will do all kinds of other freaky things. This happened one day, if you can mind well, you can take a joke, I'm sure. Hello?
Yes, I'm sure we can.
So on a certain day, Shankaran Pillai was in his office and a young woman didn't have a transport and he offered he will drop her home. So she got into his car and they were driving. When a lonely stretch of road came, he parked on the roadside and suddenly he became like an octopus. That means his limbs were all over her. Well, she pushed him away and said, "You fool, I got into your car thinking you're a decent fellow, what the hell are you doing with me?" He said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I quit smoking." So you forcefully give up something and you will start doing something else freaky, the world is going on like this. No, you don't have to quit smoking, you're not an automobile. If you're an automobile, you must worry about how to quit smoking. A human being, you don't have to quit smoking because you don't smoke anyway. Okay, you picked up a habit, you picked up something, you liked something for your pleasure, you did it, and if you can keep it aside, no problem with anything. The problem right now is compulsiveness. Karma means consciousness, that you become conscious, that it is my actions, my thoughts, my emotions, my way of being, which is making me who I am. So this is consciousness, this is liberation, this is not control.
Now, one of the things, by the way, I want to say that I really enjoyed about your book is your bizarre sense of humor. Like every
Why do
few
you say
pages,
bizarre?
because I'll explain why I say bizarre in a moment, right? Every few pages, Sadhguru leaves a joke, right? He will make a point and then he'll go, and this happened, and then he will tell a joke. But your jokes are all, your jokes are about people over drinking, about people visiting prostitutes, about a guy painting a donkey red. There are all of these human stories, and I love that. It's very refreshing and it's down to earth. I say it's weird because
You think I'm an alien? I'm a human being. I can only joke about human beings.
I think weirdness is a fantastic quality. I think you're weird as heck, and I like you because of that. I don't like, I'm not as fond of gurus who take themselves too seriously.
See, I'm the only one who is normal here. So just because people think just because I don't shave, I'm weird. People
But
who are
have you
cutting
tried
themselves
that?
up must be…
But have you tried that? Have you tried shaving? Why is it that gurus always have to grow a beard?
No, it's not that gurus have to grow a beard, it grows on every man. Why some men have to remove it? That's a question they must answer. I didn't do anything, why are you asking me?
No, but I'm curious, like, why don't you trim it?
But
Because-
why? Why don't
I'm
you
just
trim your
curious.
nose? Have you ever thought about trimming your nose? It could be really, if you cut it up nicely, it could
No,
look really
because-
jazzy, huh?
Because I've interviewed Sri Ravi Shankar, Mahatria, all of you Indian sages have a really big beard. So I was just wondering why, right? You know,
No, that
I'm
grows
not
on all
judging, I'm
men. I'm giving you very vital information. It grows on all men.
right.
Why men are removing it? They must answer. I
True.
did nothing.
True. I'm gonna see.
You
I'm
think
gonna
I'm
see how
putting…
far.
you think I'm putting manure and growing it? No, it
No,
grows on the man.
I tried growing mine. It goes all over the place, and it gets really itchy. I started buying like beer.
No, getting itchy means, then we have to… Your aunt should have taught you how to wash your face.
Okay, now you brought up my aunt twice. My aunt is actually here, and this aunt, incidentally,
Oh my God.
Natasha, is the person
Namaskaram to her, please.
who actually Aunt Natasha, I don't know if it was you who made that joke about eating fish, but I am going to bring you live because she's the person who introduced me to you. Several years ago, she told me, Vishen,
Sorry, I
you don't
haven't
have Sadhguru on mind,
responded.
Dali. I'm like, and at that time I didn't know who Sadhguru
Yeah,
was. And she
sorry.
kept every few
Haven't
months
been
she'd
paying
text me
attention.
one
I've
of your
been
videos. You
listening
gotta
to
get
this
Sadhguru,
and
you gotta get
meditating.
Sadhguru, you gotta get Sadhguru.
She didn't say if you don't get him, you'll go to hell or something. She didn't say that.
I don't, maybe she did.
Then
Maybe
she's
that's what-
transformed. She's transformed you.
So Natasha, you are now a panelist, and I told her I would bring her up, and to honor her for introducing me to your work, she can turn on her camera and ask you a question. Hi, Natasha. Do you have your mic on? So Natasha is in Indonesia. Natasha,
Namaskaram. Namaskaram.
turn on your mic. You're muted. Could you turn on your mic?
Okay, yes, I just did.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Namaskaram,
wow.
Natasha.
Namaste, Guru Sadhguru. It's such an honor to meet you and to be on this live conversation with you.
I hear that you've been working on Vishen for some time.
Yeah, I think
40
it's
years.
been 4 years. It has
So-
been 3 years or 4 years when Sadhguru was in Malaysia and he was there for
I-
some economic forum or something.
Maybe. But so I call my aunt Natasha Rainy, right? That's just my nickname for her. So Rainy, you have a question for Sadhguru. What is your question for Sadhguru?
All right. First of all, Sadhguru, I'd like to thank you so much because I had attended one of your courses in Singapore at the Marina Bay, and
And
meditation that I've been following, and up to today, I'm still meditating twice a day, and I think you're amazing. All right. So my question is,
Tell your
I-
nephew, tell your
oh,
nephew.
yeah, this is my nephew, my brother's son. Yeah.
so your question?
Yeah. So my
He thinks I'm
question is.
weird. You say I'm amazing. He thinks I'm weird. What to do?
No, I think he means that you're very different from all the other gurus. You
I
have
know,
a great
I
sense
know.
of humor.
I
You have a
know.
great personality, and you're very, very frank.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Exactly. Thank you for putting those words in the mouth and making me seem like a decent man, Auntie. So what is your question? You were saying, so this is a really key thing, right? Sadhguru changes people's lives. He had my aunt meditating twice a day. And remember, I'm a meditation teacher. I never got my aunt meditating. Like in my family, I guess we just don't listen to each other. But Auntie Rainey, what was your question for Sadhguru? You were going to ask a question?
Yes, I wanted to know that, yeah, we're talking about karma here. And karma is all about cause and effect. And what you sow, so shall you reap, right? It's all about that. I want to know what is the connection between karma and destiny?
Okay, that's a great question. So just before you do that, Auntie Rainey, just before you answer Sadhguru, I'm just going to put my aunt back as an attendee so she doesn't cause any more trouble, because her mic is also echoing and I don't know what awful secrets she might share about me. Okay, so Natasha, you're back as an attendee, but Natasha's question, what is the difference between karma and destiny? It's a beautiful question and I would love for you to answer that.
Destiny means people who believe that they can go where they want to go. If a destination means I'm going somewhere, when you leave your destiny from your hands and think it just happens to you, we can call that fate. When destiny is not handled hands-on, then it becomes fate or you become fatalistic from that. Karma means, till now what has happened? See, you cannot change yesterday's karma. Today you can only experience, tomorrow you can craft. What is past, you can only remember that, you can only learn from that. What is present, you can only experience it. What is future, you can craft it. So crafting your destiny is possible, only possible for one who sees my life is my karma, whether he or she uses that word or not. In so many ways, human beings around the world have realized that it is their thought, their emotion, their actions, their focus and orientation within themselves which gets them where they want to go. Others think it is happening from somewhere else. So those who think it'll happen from somewhere else will live accidental lives and they always have somebody else to blame for things that did not happen in their lives. For things that they are not, they think it's because of somebody. Now, the moment you see it's my karma, your successes and your failures are yours. The moment you see it is all yours, you will do the best you can. Now this is destiny does not mean where you go in the world, because where you go in the world is in many ways a consequence of the times in which we exist. Right now we are in 21st century, you are in Estonia, I am in Monterey, California, and we are talking, and she's in Malaysia and she's talking. Well, this is possible because we are in 21st century. If we were 1,000 years ago, we would be doing something very different. Maybe we would be sitting in front of our cave and chatting with each other. We don't know where we would be, what kind of actions we would perform. It is very different. So what we do in the world is largely consequence of the times in which we exist. But how we are is essentially our destiny, because our destiny is in the way we experience it. You could be in the best place and be absolutely miserable. You can live in a palace and be horrendously miserable. You can live on the street and be exuberantly joyful. Both are possible. So your experience of life is where your destiny is, because it's your experience of life that determines the quality of your life, not where you are, where you're going, what you're doing. No, these things are only socially relevant. They are not existentially relevant. Existentially for you as you sit here, what is your experience of life? How profound is it? How pleasant is it? How wonderful is it? This is all that determines. This destiny 100% you can take charge of this, because human experience is caused from within. Pain and pleasure, joy and misery, agony and ecstasy happens from within us. So when it is happening from within us, at least what is happening from within us must happen my way. What is happening from within me must happen my way. What is around me is not all mine. Everybody has their piece in it. Maybe I also have a piece, I can push for a bigger piece, but that's it. There is never going to be any time for any human being where the external situations will be 100% the way you want it. It never ever will happen. But what is within me must be 100% the way I want, otherwise I'm a lost case. This is what karma means, that you take charge of all that you can take charge. There are a few things that won't happen in our lives. If we do not do what we cannot do, that's not the issue. But if we do not do what we can do, we are a disaster. Once you see my life is my karma, you will not be such a disaster. That is the important aspect.
Thank you, Sadhguru. And people in the chat are saying how much they agree. We have 3,600 people live with us. Now, for those of you who are listening on the podcast or on the chat, I want to do a quick screen share. I want to show you Sadhguru's new book, Karma, A Yogi's Guide to Crafting Your Destiny. And I want to give you the link where you can learn more about the book. So firstly, go to isha.sadhguru.org/karma, okay? isha.sadhguru.org/karma. If you're listening to this as you're driving a car, just remember, Karma, Sadhguru, put it in Google. This will be the first link that will show up. The second link will be the Amazon page. If you go to Amazon, I'm really impressed. I'm going to ask Sadhguru to explain what you think you know about karma. Sadhguru shows us it's not a punishment for bad behavior, but a vehicle for transformation and empowerment. This book will put you back in charge of your life. And then Rosanna Arquette said, the tools Sadhguru provides in karma brings me to a place of peace within myself. Thank you for your wisdom and transformational guidance. So again, isha.sadhguru.org/karma. Now, I want to read out my favorite quote from the book and to get Sadhguru's idea of what this quote means. And also, I got questions from the audience on Instagram. Questions along the lines, and we will see if we have time to answer any of these questions. Okay, they are really interesting. So congratulations to all of you who asked questions. We will come to these in a moment. Now, the quote. Sadhguru, you ready for this?
You just liked only 2 lines out of the entire book? Ah.
I will. No, I actually highlighted a ton of information on the book, but you know what I think is a really great book is a book that opens up questions. It makes you think. It makes you wonder. And there are parts of your book which are rather mysterious. I don't want to share everything because I want to encourage people to read it. But this is something that I loved. You wrote, and I want you to explain what this means. When you live by the memory of a single book, you are religious. When you live by the memory of several books, you are intellectual. When you live by the memory of several generations of people, you become a truly compassionate human being. But when you live beyond the memory of generations of people, you become a mystic. I would love for you to expand on that idea.
Well, the first 3 things you understand, let me just talk about the last one. See, within us, as I said, this body is a huge body of memory, evolutionary, genetic, karmic, articulate, inarticulate, unconscious, subconscious, conscious levels of memories. You can bifurcate into many, many more strands. But essentially, what you know as myself is just a consequence of the memory that is stored within you, which is largely not in your excess, but it is playing out in its own way. The very way you sit and stand, the way you look, the way you behave, everything is controlled by your memory. Or in other words, in modern terms, let's say, this is an unconscious software that you have gathered within yourself. Whichever way the software is, that is the way the machine will function. If you want to go beyond this, then the existing software you must leave and either rewrite your software or learn to operate without software for a little while. If you want to rewrite your software, something different from the existing data which is already there, then you need access to another dimension of perception and knowing. Having said that, within us, there are different dimensions of intelligence. Well, in yoga, we see 16 parts to human mind, but let me make it 4 for the sake of understanding and convenience. The first one is the intellect, which is the front end of our intelligence, because this is very necessary for our survival. If we don't have a functioning intellect, we will not know how to survive. When I say functioning intellect, essentially intellect is discriminatory in nature. It tells you what is this, what is that. If you don't have an intellect functioning, you will not know whether to go through the wall or go through the door. That's how it'll become. It is functioning all the time. This functioning is happening from memory. If say a child may try to scratch you will see a bird or an insect comes into the house, it doesn't know how to get out, it doesn't recognize the door. It tries to go through the wall, it tries to go through the glass window. So, that is happening because in its memory it's not there. But your pet dog or your pet bird knows how to go through the door or the window, whatever is open. So this is the same thing. Without data, your intellect cannot function. So anything that functions with data is a limited possibility, that it is functioning within those limitations. Memory is hugely empowering on one level, but it is also a boundary. That now I've seen you, if I see you again, oh, this is my friend Vishayan, okay? Suppose you are not in my memory, I look at you and think, oh, who is this stranger? So memory is also a boundary line, which most people refuse to cross. So whether you read 1 or 10 or 1,000 books, you are only building memory. If you operate within this memory, you are operating within your own imprisonment that you have caused to yourself. So there is another dimension of intelligence, which is called as chitta, which is unsullied by memory within us. If you touch this intelligence, generally in the yogic culture, yogis of the yore must have been very, in your words, weird or wacky or whatever the hell you want to call them. But they said, if you touch your chitta, God will become your slave. This is what they said. This is not me, because if I say this, people want to come and kill me, all right? Yogis of the yore, thousands of years ago, they said, if you access your chitta, God himself will become your slave.
I love that. I love, by the way, one of the other things I found fascinating about the book were your stories of growing up in India.
Wait, let me complete that, because I'm still in trouble. Let me walk out of the trouble.
Okay,
go. A mystic means somebody who explored life beyond the accumulations that we have. When I say accumulations that we have, this body is an accumulation of the food that you've eaten, anchovies for you and many things for many other people. Well, your mind is an accumulation of various impressions that have come into you. So everything that you have right now as myself is an accumulation. When you experience and access life, which is beyond accumulation, then you become a mystic. So, people keep asking me, Sadhguru, what is a mystic? I say, see, there are only two kinds of people, mystics and mistakes. Those who have made a mistake about their perception because of the accumulations, limited accumulations that they've gathered, they are mistakes. Those who don't make a mistake about their perception, who are just seeing life, simple thing, you're just seeing life the way it is. People think you're a mistake, people think you're weird, wacky, what all you said today. And now 3 words of abuse, mystic, wacky, weird. But it's good. All these things are happening because what is normal has become so useless, and within boundaries, variety of controls and no possibilities of being anything new. Anything new happens in America, they'll say, weird, okay? And it's a good weird, I'm saying. It's not I'm not saying it's an insult. It's a good weird. Weird means you're stretching yourself beyond what is a picket fence that you've fixed for yourself. If you cross that, it's weird. Are you crossing this fence consciously, wanting to go beyond, or did you fall over? There's a difference. If you fall over, it'll be one kind. If you cross it consciously, it's different kind. For this, the most important thing that needs to happen, if you want to create a world full of mystics, what needs to happen is our education systems have to shift from being purely unipolar in terms of just being purely intellectual, not using other dimensions of intelligence which exist within the human being. If that one thing happens, you will see a lot of weird people. Hello.
Absolutely. At Mind Valley, we celebrate weird, and that's exactly why we have so many programs on all dimensions of being human, not just the intellect, but the spirit and the soul. Thank you. And I also want to just want to share with the audience that Sadhguru's program on Mind Valley, the tentative title is going to be called A Yogi's Guide to Bliss. It's a tentative title, but it should be coming out in the next couple of months. And now, Sadhguru, I would love to bring.
Okay.
I would love to bring up the top question. The top question from Thales. So this is the highest rated question, and I'm going to bring up Thales to ask you the question.
How does a question become a star question?
So, well, in this technology, people can vote up questions.
All right. What's the basis?
So I have no idea.
I'm just joking. I'm sorry.
Good morning.
So if feel free to answer the question in any way you want. Thales, you are now a panelist. Feel free to turn on your mic and video and go ahead and ask away.
Just a second. Hello, Vishen. Hello, Sadhguru. It's a pleasure to be here. My question for you is a more general question. It is, how are you able to talk about such a wide of subjects? I see that you talk about how to sleep better, how to eat better, how to do a lot of things better. So how do you seek knowledge in a world where there is so much noisy information? So how do you seek knowledge and wisdom?
I've never spoken about many subjects. I only spoke about one subject, life. And I'm talking about life, not because it's my knowledge, because I'm life. Are you? You're life too? No, but the problem is right now, most of the time you're not experiencing yourself as life. You're experiencing yourself as a bundle of thoughts, emotions, ideas, opinions, belief systems, prejudices. If you keep that aside, you're just a life. Essentially you're life. Rest is all society and stuff that you pick up. So if you're life, would you not know? See, you must ask all the other creatures. Maybe these days dogs are confused with their association with human beings. But if you take any other animal, let's say you take a mouse, you take a snake, you take something else, all of them know how to eat, how to sleep, how to be healthy, everything, right?
Yeah.
So that's all I am. I'm just a creature. No knowledge.
Thank you, Sadhguru.
People ask me, Sadhguru, how do you know so much about environment? You're talking about this river, everything. I said, I am not an environmentalist. I am like a worm on the riverbed. A worm on the riverbed knows more about the river than all the scientists put together. So I'm just a worm.
Thank you, Sadhguru, and thank you, Thales. I want to bring up the next question, and this is it's a sadder question, but I think it's very important that we answer this. So Shamant Kushka, Shamant, I'm going to bring you up to ask your question.
From Mind Valley you must explain, because there's a whole lot of social media cats who will go out, Sadhguru admitted he's a worm, see we told you he's a worm, they'll go on.
No. The Mind Valley audience is this is an open event, but the people who are Mind Valley members, they're like the best people in the world, the kindest, gentlest, most compassionate people.
And then make me a member, huh?
You are? No, I'll give you. Yes, I'll give you a form. Just put in your credit card information. It's not going to be free. Like, don't think just because you're.
Who told you I have a credit card, man?
Well, you bought a motorcycle. You can buy a Mind Valley membership, Sadhguru. Come on, like get with the program. Currency. It's 2021. Do you carry Bitcoin?
No, no coins.
Okay, so Shamant, you had a very important question. I know it's a sad question, our condolences, but I want to give you a chance to ask this to Sadhguru, as many people really wanted this question answered. Go ahead.
Yeah, my Sadhguruji, Namaskaram, first of all. Honored to be on this call. Thank you, Vishen. See, just 4 months back, I lost my 20-year-old brother-in-law to cardiac arrest. He was just 20. And we are still coming to terms with it, still grieving over it. So I just want to know, how do we come to terms with it? I mean, was it just karma? Like, did he have, how do we just, I'm not able to even articulate it. how do we come to terms with it? Was it just karma which made him?
Madam, I'm sorry about that. See, we need to understand this. You don't try to explain away the loss of a loved one, okay? Oh, it's his karma, he died. How ugly is that?
Yeah.
How ugly is it to say, it's his karma and he died? This is the ugliest thing you can do. Karma is never about other people, it's only about you. It's only your karma you talk about, never about other people's karma. About the loss of life, we must understand that this is the nature of life. We are born and we die. Question is only when, how, that's all. It's guaranteed that all of us will die, whether other things will happen in our lives or not, but all of us will definitely die for sure. But unfortunately, it happens untimely for certain people because we have an expectation. A human being means he or she will live a certain amount of life. So these expectations are based on our assumptions, but life has its own ways, life has many aspects. So many young people have died in this pandemic, unfortunately. So many people that I know, every day 15 to 20 people that I know well, many people very dear to me are dying on a daily basis, I'm saying. So, we need to understand this. When we lose somebody, it is not that we should find some explanation and write them off. You don't write them off. You value people because in some way they contributed and enriched your life, maybe just by a word, maybe by certain actions, maybe by a variety of other possibilities. In so many ways, human beings around you have enriched your life. So it doesn't matter. See, all the people who are alive right now may not be with you, but you cherish them. Similarly, they may not be with you, but you just cherish them for who they are. Don't make them the source of misery in your life. Oh, you're only kind of right now being affected by it because in some way they were a source of joy for you. Let it stay that way. They must always stay as a source of joy for you. The greatest disservice you can do to the departed person is you make them the source of misery in your life. Do not do that to them. This they don't deserve. Because if they were here, they would have been a source of joy for you. For whatever reason life decides to leave, do not try to find explanations for that. Why you're born, you never asked, isn't it? And why you die, don't ask. It's all right, it happens. We try to do our best to see that an individual human being lives a full-fledged life. But for many people, it doesn't happen. It's our business to see and do our best to see that they live a full life. But will it always happen? No. So, why you are born, why I am born, how did it happen? Don't go into these things because all you will have is hallucinations. Do not go into that. The important thing is as a human being, you valued that human being when they were alive, please value them when they're gone with the same sense of joy and love in your heart. Do not kill that just because they are not here. If somebody is not here, let's say somebody whom you love is not with you, is in another town, another country, is it not true that you will feel much more love and longing for them when they're not with you?
Yes.
The same should be true even for this person.
Thank you for your words.
Thank you so much, Tama. And thank you, Sadhguru, for such a beautiful…
I seek your blessings.
Namaskar.
Thank you so much.
So as we come to the final 2 minutes of this interview, Sadhguru, thank you so much for an amazing conversation. Thank you for giving your time to our community. Thank you to the 3,700 of you who showed up live in your busy day to participate in this conversation, and the tens of thousands more who will be listening to this on the podcast. I want to show you where you can learn more information on Sadhguru. You just have to go to isha.sadhguru.org. And that's the website where you can learn everything about Sadhguru. You can attend an online satsang and so on. But isha.sadhguru.org/karma is where you can learn about the book. Again, if you are driving, don't worry about taking that down. Just go to Google, type in Sadhguru Karma. The book is a beautiful book. It is a deep book. It is a wonderful book to read.
Every human being also doing the same thing because there are two dimensions of your intelligence. Yes, if that happens for the entire universe, if it's possible. Because this is the nature of being human. There is one dimension which always wants to expand, another dimension which always wants to build walls. But the most important dimension of your intelligence is chitta. In today's education systems, in today's social conditions, there is no effort to dip into deeper dimensions of our intelligence. We're just too enamored with our own intellect and now using this knife to stitch everything.
Well, you should know that even at Google, when we interview people, we have something called GCA that we look for, which is general cognitive ability. I suppose that would fall into that intellect dimension. Most of us weren't raised where we were told from an early age to identify with the cosmos. So is there any hope for us? Or are we lost?
See, identifying with the cosmos is just another thought. As a thought, it doesn't do much, it makes people little airy-brained and they'll start acting funny, you become new agey. See, this wanting to set up boundaries, the instinct of wanting to set up boundaries is so deep. You see a dog peeing all over the place, not because he has some urinary problem. He's building a kingdom. It's a big kingdom, but it's a kingdom, all right? He's building a kingdom. Every human being also doing the same thing because there are two dimensions of your intelligence. One is designed to create self-preservation. One aspect of your intelligence is designed for self-preservation, which is your intellect. The chitta, that dimension of the intelligence is designed to make you expand. Once you have come as a human being, this is your issue fundamentally. Whoever you are, whatever you are right now in your life, you want to be something more. If that something more happens, you want to be something more. If that something more happens, you want to be something more. I'm sure you guys want to set up Google Maps for Mars. Yes, if that happens for the entire universe, if it's possible. Because this is the nature of being human. There is one dimension which always wants to expand, another dimension which always wants to build walls. You build…
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to today's episode. Sorry if I bored everyone. I'm trying something new. I'm probably going to do this every morning, try to, and have some type of motivational thing. Peace, love, psychedelics, and all that hippie jazzy stuff like that. Peace.